Hey everybody, it's Natalie McKenzie with The Whole Woman, and it's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. That makes it Quaran-Tea time. That's right. Get your tea, hit that share button, and invite a few friends because today we're going to be chatting with one of those interesting minds that's done a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He has been an actor, producer, director, and writer. I mean, come on. He is, ladies and gentlemen, the founder of the Newark International Film Festival, owner of Area 21 Studios, owner of Vault Access, and director of the Newark Office of Film and Television. So help me welcome today's guest, Mr. Kenneth Gifford. Hi, Kenneth.
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Quaran-Tea.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, so Kenneth, your resume is long. The titles I can use for you are many. And so you're a man who has accomplished much, been around the block, been there, done that, have the t-shirt and probably a few accolades on the shelf to show for it. But we want to know about the man behind all that action. Tell us about yourself. What went into the making of Kenneth? And who was the young man that either your mom called Ken or Kenny that grew up to be such an icon today?
Well, growing up in Newark, New Jersey, I am the only boy of 5 children. I have 4 older sisters, so spoiled. Um, yeah, it was one of those things where it was just like they weren't going to stop till they got their boy. So you got it. But it's great. Growing up in Newark, went to arts high school where I studied physical drawing. I'm an artist.
Mm.
From there, while I was in high school, I ended up going to audition for a show on MTV and got the job. And while I was in high school, I was also on the show.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty much where my career in entertainment started.
In high school.
Yes.
So wait a minute, you're baby of 5, you've got 4 sisters, and you were born and raised in Newark. Give us context. Tell us about the Newark you grew up in.
Oh, the Newark I grew up in was absolutely amazing. It was one of those communities where if you did something wrong, your neighbor was going to get you. Your parents were friends with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Store owner had a name. That's where you went and you hung out. Even though it was Newark and Newark sometimes has a bad name, I was never victim to those circumstances. Of course, you've seen a lot of things, but living in Newark and growing up in Newark, to me, it was all love. It was a beautiful place, and it still is to this day. Everything I am today is because I grew up
In New York. And so you attended arts high school and you were an artist, a visual artist.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about auditioning for the show for MTV while in high school, and what grade were you in?
I was a senior, and the show was interesting. It was a dance show called Club MTV, and they changed it to Hanging with MTV. Then it was Hanging with Downtown Judy Brown, and then they changed it to The Grind. All the same show, just went from a nightclub to a set, and I was a dancer on the show. For me at that time, like there was no real pay. I think we got like $35 a week or something like that, and but I was on TV. I was in New York every other day on TV. So to me, it was absolutely amazing. It was great, and I enjoyed it until the show got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
When the show got canceled, I realized that all the talent went home, but the crew stayed and got on other shows. So at that point, I realized I wanted to be behind the camera and not in front of the camera. So when they invited me back to do another show, the only way I would agree is if I was part of the crew as well. And that's where, I got my career behind the camera.
And so all this while you were in high school, you were clever enough to understand that if you're going to get into this, you want something that's going to be more than a gig.
Oh, absolutely. By that time, I realized what a paycheck was, and that I wasn't getting one anymore. So if I'm gonna do it, I need something more stable. So
So, what was your role behind the scenes while you were in front of the camera?
I was PA. People don't realize how important production assistants are. When you start, that's one of the biggest roles that someone starting in the industry could have, because without a PA, the production doesn't go. It doesn't flow. You need somebody to do all that work that everyone else doesn't want to do. And that's where I started. It was tough doing both, but I figured it out and I hung in there.
All while in high school. So, okay, what does this paycheck do for your desire to go off to college? Did you stay in entertainment and continue to do production and grow in the business, or did you go off to college?
No, I went to Essex County College, so it was local, 2-year college, simple classes. It was just to get done, but I stayed in the industry. That was where I wanted to be. So I didn't budge from that. I don't believe in the plan B.
Okay. I like that. So, okay, walk us through the trajectory of your career as you're relatively young and you're very clear that this is what you want to do. You're going to college probably to appease your parents, but you're focused on getting in.
Yeah, that was it. It was something to do. I really couldn't tell you what it was like. I don't remember. I was more focused on being in the industry, and I started creating independent films and short films and feature films. By that point, I had done roughly about 60. By the time,
60 films.
yes,
And how old were you at this time, Kenny?
I mean that's a long span. So between getting out of high school and I would say 20 something, I had done about 60 independent projects.
And tell me about the success of these projects.
They were really stepping stones. They were someone wants to shoot a film, or I wanted to shoot a film, so I wrote something, borrowed the camera, got it done. Um, I had a friend who was like, "Hey, I'll help you out," and they loaned me money to go buy a camera, and I started shooting stuff, and it was really a way to not all this while I was still being a PA for motion pictures, but it was really a way just to understand all aspects of the business. So I wanted to know what the cameraman did. I wanted to know what the sound guy did. I already knew what the talent did. So I just needed to get a grasp of everything. And I started to build my knowledge of the industry itself. And I just taught myself how to be a filmmaker. And from there, it took off. My first feature film was in my first major feature film was in 2007. Uh, we filmed Cadillac Records here in Newark
What was the name? Cadillac Records?
with Beyonce, Jeffrey Wright, Columbus Short.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was the first film that I had any real leadway in when it comes to a major motion picture film. So that was great.
That's awesome. And so let's get a grasp of this. You've been actor, let me back up, dancer, actor, production assistant, writer, cameraman, producer, director.
Yeah.
Were you the sound person also?
I've done sound as well. Yeah.
So you've covered the gamut.
I've covered the gambit. I believe in do it all or don't do anything.
And then you worked with Beyonce back in 2007. Okay, so now you're getting to high cotton. Let's tell us about that experience. Tell us about now building out the business from that point forward.
Um, so a good friend of mine knew that I was, hustling in the industry, trying to get it done. And they said, look, I'm going to give you a shot. Um, this is where you need to go. So they told me to go meet this person. Um, and they said, look, all I'm going to do is tell you to go meet her. From that point, what happens is up to you. I said, okay. So I went to go meet her. Her name is Darnell Martin. She's a director. So uh, I walked up to her and she said, hi, how are you? We exchanged pleasantries. And I said, I want to work on your next production. She said, no. I said, okay. Um, and then someone else I knew said, look, we're looking somewhere to film this film and we want it to look like Chicago. Do you have any ideas? I said, yeah. And they said 1960 Chicago. I said, downtown Newark. There's the Haynes building. If you look at it, because at the point in the 60s, Chicago was a lot of rundown buildings and empty lots. I said, yeah, shoot in Newark. So when they came down to scout it, Darnell ended up being the director. So I asked her again, hey, can I work on your film? And she said, no. I said, okay, I'll do it for free. And she was like, you're hired. So I worked on Cadillac Records for 3 months for free, no pay whatsoever. No pay in the beginning. What she did was she never told me she was actually cutting checks. She just wanted to see how far I would last. And I ended up lasting the entire film, going everywhere they went. And towards the end, she just handed me the checks and was like, you earned them, you deserve them. And it was one of those things where, for me, I knew what the industry was, but I had never worked with big A-list celebrities. So that was kind of like a shock when, for me, Jeffrey Wright walks up to me and he says, do you have any coffee? And I had no words for him. And it was like, you're Jeffrey Wright. You're one of my idols when it comes to acting. And so I ran and got him coffee. Then the next day, I'm having a conversation with someone, and I had no idea who the person was. And we're talking about everything under the sun, and it ended up being Columbia Short. So every time he would come off a set, we would then go talk, have conversations, just talk about life and everything. So I started to realize that for me, while these are A-list celebrities, they're just regular people. Like, they just want regular conversation. They don't want you to go crazy over them. Like, it's just, I'm here to do a job. That's it. Mm-hmm. I did, however, spaz out when we had our rap party and I'm sitting on the couch in a club in New York and Jay-Z is on one side and Beyonce is on the other. And I had already met Beyonce from working on set, but I never met Jay-Z. So have them two, one on each side, I was just like a kid in a candy store. And yeah.
So I gather you're quite a tenacious man, and you made it very clear there is no plan B. Tell us about your family life during all this time that you were grinding away at this business, doing all that you do and have done. How are you managing your personal life during this time?
Okay. So for me, I don't manage my personal life. God does. I just follow what he tells me to do. I make a lot of mistakes, and he corrects me a lot. And that's I can't explain how I ended up where I am, but through God. I met my wife outside of a nightclub in Orange one day, and I pulled up in the truck. Now I'm not a big guy. I'm only 5'7". So, us short guys, we have big personalities. I pulled up in this truck. It was my friend's truck. I'm driving his truck. And my wife was across the street with her friends. So I yelled at her. I said, come here. She's like, I don't know you. No. I was like, okay. So I waited. And then I turned the truck around and I said to her again, I said, come here. She was like, no. My mother told me not to talk to strangers. She turned her back on me. I'm like, okay. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get out. So I got out the truck and she laughed at me. So my wife is 5'10". So when I got out of the truck, she was like, look at this short guy here telling me to come here. So we had a conversation. She was not interested at all. Her friends were like, oh, he's got a nice truck. Give him your number. She was like, no. So her friend gave me her number. Yeah.
Some friend.
And this is how long ago it was. It was a pager. So, So I would page her every now and then, and she would call back periodically and be like, "Who's this?" And I would go, "Kenny, from Jersey." She's like, "I don't know who you are." Short guy. She's like, "Oh yeah, Kenny." We played that game literally for 5 years.
Oh my
5 years. Um, I pretty much stalked my wife for 5 years. Then we became friends. We started hanging out. Um, and people, look at me like I'm crazy and don't believe it when I say it. Like, we never actually dated um, at all. Like, we were just friends. We hung out. My wife's a flight attendant, so when she came in town, she stayed at my spot. And we were just friends. Literally nothing more. Um, One day we went out with one of her friends and one of my friends, and her friend thought she was there to meet me. And Tracy was like, no, you're not. And at that point, it just kind of put like, all right, I guess we're like going to try to create some kind of relationship. I don't know what it was going to be. But we never actually made things like official, like we're dating. We were just friends. And then one day we were both like, let's get married. And
Wait a minute. Just let's get married.
let's
Let's
get married.
let's go to the movies. Let's get married.
It was the darndest thing. It was just like, let's get married. And that December, we got married. And it's been 18 years.
Well, let's just take notes here. Just stalk her for 5 years and then just become
Listen,
friends and
you
say,
love her long enough, it'll work. Don't worry about it.
I love it. So you've been married 18 years. Congratulations. Do you have children?
We have two boys, Adam and Dave.
Adam and what's the second son's name? David. Beautiful. So Adam and David and the lovely wife. Okay, so you've managed to somehow carve out this beautiful marriage, lovely family in the middle of conquering the film industry. Tell us what else you've been doing because I know you created the Newark International Film Festival.
Yes.
How did you get there?
So while I was working in the industry, I realized that there was no real platform for the filmmakers in Newark specifically, and I wanted to create something that they could gravitate to and they could receive something from, be it education, training, inspiration. So I met up with one of my good friends, Jeff Friday, who owns the American Black Film Festival in Miami. I said, I want to start a film festival in Newark because he's from Newark as well. We grew up in the same block. And he was like, okay, get it done. So we talked for a while, talked about it, figured out how to do it. And in 2016, I launched the Newark International Film Festival. And we just celebrated our 5th year. And every year we've got about 10,000 or more people that come to the city and experience the festival. We get around 1,800 submissions from all over the world. We have about 83 countries that get involved with our festival.
So Kenny, I know you started Area 21 Studios before you started the film festival because that's how you met and got involved with that first movie you talked about.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the studio, what it does, and who are we looking at here?
So the Area 21 Studios is my production company. I created that when I started doing major motion pictures. Working on Cadillac Records, I worked on Hancock with Will Smith and Motherhood with Uma Thurman and Minnie Driver. So I created a production company where I could hire people, local people, and train them how to do the work that I was doing. And then train them how to be production assistants, how to write, how to direct, how to produce, and then get them jobs in the industry as well. This picture is from my film festival. I want to say this is the first year. And you have Lorenz Tate and his two brothers, Lamar and LaRon, who are my partners to this day. Tobias Trevelyan, who in the back in the corner on the right, who's been a huge supporter of the film festival. He was our ambassador the first year. Uh, you have Eric Payne in the back, and the gentleman who is right here in the blue shirt, he played in Coming to America. Um,
Oh yeah.
and then you have my sound guy in the orange shirt. That's Keith Martin. So yeah, it's that's like the original crew that really helped me get things moving and started.
So you have the studio, you do the International Film Festival, and you're the director of the Newark Office of Film and Television. But this year, I can imagine you've really been brought to a halt. Let's talk a little bit about how the COVID-19 pandemic, excuse me, has impacted your business and your ability to get things done.
Um, so COVID pretty much shut down production everywhere. It's not much business going on. So it really limited anything that could be done. So when COVID started, I realized that there were a lot of filmmakers that were just left out in the cold. There were no programs for them to go to, no ways for them to make money. Um, so I ended up creating a new company, founding a new company, which is Vault. It's Vault Access, and it is an independent streaming service for independent creators, where filmmakers can create content, get it on a streaming platform, and get paid for it. You don't have to wait for Netflix to call you back or Amazon. We have it for you. So I create a platform that can give them a voice, that can give them a new level of independence where you can make money and monetize your project.
And so let's talk a little bit about how this is impacting the industry on a whole, and of course, your family, because if this is pretty much everything that you do, if it's impacting you and your business, it's impacting your family as well. So you stayed healthy, which is a blessing. But
Absolutely.
how is this impacting your family and other people in the industry?
I mean, impacting my family, it's scary because not only do you have to worry about being safe and being healthy, but then you got to worry about where there's next paycheck coming from. So you've got to adapt. You've got to look at everything you have in your arsenal and every piece of intellect you have and say, well, how do I build myself or my industry to the next level? And that's what the streaming platform was. Um, as far as the industry itself, I mean, you've got so many people that are struggling right now because when it comes to COVID, a lot of people feel that hospitality is what got impacted hard. And nothing has been impacted harder than the film industry. We're
Mm.
talking about no movies being made, no TV shows being shot. Actors are not working. Like there's nothing going on in the industry. So when that happened, everything came to a halt. So there was no pickup and release. And when it comes to being an actor or a producer, writer, director, you're independent. So you're not getting unemployment. You're not getting a paycheck or some kind of supplement to help you move on to the next month. When it comes to actors, most actors are already struggling. So if you're cutting out their day job and their night job, it's tough. So it's we had to figure out a way to bring that back together, a way to bring that industry back to life. And that's where, the streaming platform comes in at. Because there's content that's been created that you can help promote the thing.
So tell us about how the vault access works. How are we able to access? And how do can we just get on and watch movies like we would on, say, Netflix?
So Vault is a streaming platform that's a subscription based, just like Netflix. It's $4.99 a month. And right now you have to go through our website to get to it, which is uh, vault.vhx.com, or you can go through the regular website, which is Vault Access, thevaultaccess.com, and you can just sign up. Starting in November, it will be on app, which will be on iPhone, Android, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, and we'll be in 42 million homes.
And this will be in November.
Yes.
Okay, so we can download the app in November.
Mhm.
Until then, we can go to the website at thevaultaccess.com.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, cool. And so here we have that going on, but then we have the other pandemic. You know, then you have the George Floyd killing, the Breonna Taylor killing, and then America gets to another tipping point, which is there's the racial tension where there's a push for equity. And, you know, equality, yes, but equity, absolutely. How is that impacting your business? And with so many people being out of work, how are you all responding collectively?
So when it comes to the racial part, we don't really feel that in Newark. Newark is a diverse melting pot where we don't have some of the other issues that are going on in America. However, being a black man, having black children that are black men, it's difficult. You know, I have to explain to my kids that talk about being pulled over by the cop. I got to talk to my kids about, just being safe in the streets. And that's not a talk you want to have with your kids. That's not a conversation you ever want to look at your child and say, if someone approaches you, just walk away. If someone says something to you, walk away. If a cop stops you, raise your hand. It's a scary situation. And when you're talking about being a black man in a black community with black children, you you want to feel safe. I grew up safe. I'm not used to this. And I explain to a lot of people, the generation that I grew up in, we grew up hearing about segregation and racism, but we never really experienced it. We knew what it was. We were
Mhm.
pretty well versed and informed on it, but few of us ever really experienced it. So now to see black men getting choked out by police, KKK doing rallies, people with Confederate flags, and understanding that there are a lot of people that still hate us just because of the color of our skin says now you have to fear for your life and your children. And it becomes more of a nightmare than the American dream.
And that's intense and it's real. Well, wow. We can only say to be safe. How is this? And I'm so sorry. There's someone at my door. We're on live TV, and they're
It's live.
it's live. So it's very interesting to have this conversation, especially when you live in a community and in a town where it's not prevalent, and so it's not part of their day to day. But you have to prepare them
Yeah.
for going out and experiencing it and coming home safely. So we can only say to you, be safe and continue to do what you do. I love that you don't have a plan B. Are any of your sons involved in what you're currently doing?
No, they don't care. Like, my oldest son, he wants to be a sound engineer, and my youngest son wants to be a cop. So,
To be a what?
a police officer. So, yeah, I've tried to get them into it, tried to get them interested. They're like, nope, I'm good. It's not what I want to do. And I respect it. So, I got to keep pushing them and encouraging them to be the best them that they can be.
That's the best you can do. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you, Kenny. How can we stay in touch and how can we learn more about all that you're doing?
I am on Instagram all day long. You can reach me on Instagram at Kenny G3674, and I reply to everyone. A lot of people tell me I'm too accessible. Uh, my film festival is North IFF on Instagram, and the streaming platform is Vault_Access on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us, Kenny. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're hoping that the Newark International Film Festival will be live next year. If not, we'll be sure to access it from the vault.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fun week here on Quaran-Tea. We've had quite a few quarantini sessions. Had to wrap up the week with a cup of tea. Enjoy and get ready because next week we'll be right here, same place, same time, 6 p.m. on the Whole Woman page, and we'll have a plethora of interesting people for you to chat with next week. In the meantime, you should have received your ballots in the mail. Be sure to complete them. Fill them out with one color pen, whether it's a black pen or a blue pen. Do not use a pencil. And remember, we do not write names in on our ballot because we want our vote to count. So vote for someone who's already printed on the ballot. Then find out where you should take your ballot and put it in the drop-off boxes. Bypass the mailbox. Do not use the postal services because your ballot may just get delayed. So if you're living in the state of New Jersey, I believe we're bumping up on our last day to register, and that would be October 13th. So be sure to register to vote. If you've not yet completed the census, you want to do that because if you don't count, if you don't do the census, you won't count. And you want to be counted so you can get the services. I'm Natalie McKenzie. I'm the Whole Woman. And I wish you enough life to live, enough joy to give, enough love to share. I wish you enough. Good night.